You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 599 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. It is free and available on all platforms. That song you are hearing right now is, of course, Leave the Lights On from our good friends at Passafire. You can check those guys out anywhere you get your music. And the Rangers last night, that would be Wednesday night, coming up short in Game 1 in Raleigh against the Carolina Hurricanes, falling 2-1 in overtime despite being what I at least consider them to be the better team for the first two periods, hands down, maybe even into the third period a little bit as well. Unfortunately, the Canes kind of woke up, found their groove a little bit, got the equalizer, which is 2:25 remaining. And then just 3 minutes into the overtime period, about 3 minutes into the overtime period, 3:12 to be exact, you got Ian Cole, of all people, scoring a goal, basically just ripping the puck at the net. It deflects off of Ryan Lindgren, and it goes in. And just like that, the Canes are up 1-0. There's a lot of positives to take out of this game if you're a Ranger fan. The one play that I think a lot of people are kind of harping on right now, and not everybody, but a lot of people are a little bit upset at Kaapo Kakko because with about 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, the Rangers were up 1-0 at this point. He had a rebound go right to him and just an absolutely wide open net. Kaapo Kakko, or really any player in the NHL, is not going to miss this shot very often, but unfortunately, he just put it wide of the far post, missed the empty net. Rangers still up only 1-0 at that point. And then, of course, Sebastian Aho ties it, like I said, with just 2:23 remaining in the contest. So it's really, really unfortunate. And I'll be the first one to say Kaapo Kakko's got to bury that shot there. But I'm not going to come on here and pile onto Kaapo Kakko for a lot of reasons. For starters, that's just not really our style on here. We're kind of glass half full. And to me, I really believe a team wins and loses together. But beyond that, the kid line was far and away the best New York Ranger line on the ice in this game last night. And they created more scoring opportunities than anybody else. They were tenacious on the forecheck. I thought Kaapo Kakko won a lot of board battles. Again, this is the growth that we've seen from Kaapo Kakko. He wasn't really, a beast along the boards like he is now. I mean, he goes in there and he fights for the puck. He had a couple of strong drives to the net, some really crafty passes, a couple of, really hard shots that went on goal as well, came close to scoring at least once or twice. But he was firing on all cylinders. And it's interesting because you look at the Rangers, the series against Pittsburgh, and then also this first game here against the Canes, it feels like at no point in the playoff run, at least as of yet, have all four Ranger lines really been clicking at the same time. You had early in the Penguins series, it felt like, again, the kid line was probably the best looking line for the Rangers, in the first couple of games against Pittsburgh. Then I thought they kind of got quiet toward the end. Not much from them in Game 6 or Game 7. Not really a whole lot in Game 5 either. Nobody played well in Game 4 in that series against the Penguins. But that's where, we had guys like Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad really step up. Game 6 and 7, that's when they really kind of came alive and the kid line kind of faded a little bit. Then in this game, it was right back to where it was at the start of the Pittsburgh series. I thought the kid line looked great. Quiet night for Mika and Kreider, and you could even throw Vetrano in there as well, at least offensively. I will say the Rangers, as a team, defended better than they did in the entire series against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their zone clears were better than they had been the entire first round of the playoffs. I thought they won more 50-50 pucks in this game than maybe they did, once again, during the entire series against Pittsburgh. They were good on the forecheck overall. Certainly the kid line was. I thought they were strong along the boards, and they did just about everything to set themselves up to win this game. Unfortunately, they scored the early goal. Lafreniere to Filip Chytil makes it 1-0 Rangers, 7:07 into the contest. Looked like the Rangers, especially in the first period, also in the second period, had a good amount of opportunities to really build on that lead. And of course, we already mentioned the Kaapo Kakko situation where he didn't score in the third period. The Rangers had a lot of chances to, once again, take a multi-goal lead here. Unfortunately, Antti Ranta made some nice saves for the Carolina Hurricanes, kept them in the game, and Rangers just couldn't quite hold them off. Sebastian Aho ties the game in the third period. The Rangers were really back on their heels for the last 10 or 12 minutes of regulation there. Even so, though, I thought this was one of those games where the Rangers were going to kind of bend but not break. They would ultimately be able to hold off the Canes and maybe even win this game 1-0, but just wasn't meant to be. You had a couple of really nice passes by the Canes on the game-tying goal. Teravainen to Jarvis to Sebastian Aho, and Igor Shesterkin, who was very, very good in this game, made a phenomenal left pad save against Aho. Unfortunately, Aho was able to get to his own rebound and basically just tuck the puck home, tie the game at that point. And then, like we said, Ian Cole in overtime with the deflection off of Ryan Lindgren's stick and into the net. But that's something else that I think is very, very encouraging about this game. Once again, they played excellent team defense, better than they have in any of their playoff games thus far. Igor Shesterkin stopped 24 of 26 shots. He was very, very sharp in this game when he needed to. He didn't really have to do a whole lot in the first two periods, and that goes back to, once again, the Rangers playing the type of team defense that we got used to them playing after the trade deadline this season, and something that they kind of got away from, at least during parts of the opening round against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But the Rangers played great defense in front of him, and even when, the Canes started to produce a couple of scoring opportunities in the third period, Igor Shesterkin was up to the challenge and made a lot of really nice saves to keep that 1-0 lead intact for as long as he could. And in some ways, I think that's even more impressive. I mean, it could be debated, but in some ways, I do think it's somewhat more impressive that Igor Shesterkin could have, kind of fairly easy first period or two. I mean, there was one really nice glove save that he made. I think it was in the first period, but besides that, not really tested in the first two periods. But then, the Canes start peppering him a little bit in the third period, and he comes up clutch, and he makes all these excellent saves down the stretch here. Really thought the Rangers were going to be able to hold them off between, once again, the strong team defense and Igor Shesterkin having his A game. Unfortunately, just was not meant to be. But that's a really, really encouraging sign going forward in this series as well. Once again, the fact that they defended, but then also the fact that Igor Shesterkin was fantastic when the Rangers needed him in this game. And when you look at the two goals that the Canes scored, the Aho goal, I mean, Igor made an excellent left pad save, full extension, keeping the puck out. Unfortunately, the Rangers weren't there to clear Aho out of the crease. He got behind the defenseman, I believe it was Trouba and Miller who were on the ice at the time, and was able to, once again, bury his own rebound. So that was one of the Canes' goals. And the other one, I don't think there's any goalie in hockey that's going to stop this one. Ian Cole just threw the puck at the net, and once again, Lindgren looked like he was trying to, block the shot, which is something else that the Rangers did very, very well in this game. But unfortunately, deflected off of his stick, went into the net. There's not a whole lot you can do there. And just like that, the Canes win game one in overtime. So a disappointing loss to be sure. But again, I'm not ready to hit the panic button, not even close. I will say it does feel like a missed opportunity. I talked about that in our Locked On Now that we do, the video that we post on Twitter after every game, win or lose. And the reason it feels like such a missed opportunity is, again, all the things that I just mentioned, combined with the fact that, I don't think the Canes were at their best in this game, not by a long shot. I thought maybe the Canes would win game one, then the Rangers would come back and win game two, just by the fact that the Canes had an extra day of rest. They're at home. They're a fantastic team to begin with, and the Rangers might be a little bit, drained from just a crazy series against Pittsburgh and having to win 3 in a row to keep your season alive. I thought this was all set up for a Canes win, and then the Rangers responding with a game two win, and you'd go back to New York tied at 1 game apiece. I just thought the Canes might have a little bit more jump in their step, and that was definitely not the case in this game. What's unfortunate and what feels like a little bit ominous, again, I'm not ready to hit the panic button or anything like that, but it's just the simple fact that the Canes were not at their best, and the Rangers let them win anyway. That is certainly unfortunate. This game was the Rangers for the taking. Unfortunately, the Canes kind of stole it in the last couple of minutes there and in the overtime period as well. But we're going to continue breaking this one down, talk about a couple other positives, a couple other highlights and lowlights from this game in just a second. But first, I just want to let everybody know, today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Built Bar. I love brownies, but you know what I love more? Brownie batter. And if you're a brownie lover, you're in luck because Built has a new creation, and this one is better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. This puff takes protein bars to a whole new level, and they're available right now at Built.com. Have you tried the puffs yet? I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Puffs are a chocolate-covered marshmallow protein bar. That's right. Delicious flavored marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. With 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar, Brownie Batter Puffs are the perfect pick-me-up for any day. And they are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. The Brownie Batter Puffs will have you completely forgetting that you are eating a protein bar. No need to pinch yourself. This is real life. Go to Built.com to get Brownie Batter Puffs right now. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, just want to thank you guys for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Something else that I found interesting about this game, and it's kind of indicative of how the game unfolded and how well the Rangers were playing, but you look at the distribution of time on the ice among the Ranger forwards, it's about as balanced as you'll probably ever see. The Rangers were basically rolling four lines and just letting everybody go out there and do their thing and just play smart, solid, good defensive hockey. But when you look at time on the ice, the discrepancy between the Ranger who had the most time on the ice and the Ranger with the least time on the ice is probably about as small as you'll ever see. Mika Zibanejad ended up with 19 minutes and 12 seconds. He had the most time on the ice, and Ryan Reeves, 11 minutes and 23 seconds, had the least time on the ice. So obviously the Rangers were letting everybody get their shifts, and guys were playing well, and Gallant didn't see a reason to, force certain players onto the ice for a crazy amount of time. Everybody was chipping in and, again, playing good defensive hockey and putting the Rangers in position to win this game. I did want to talk a little bit more about the kid line, the night that they had, and I figure we might as well start with the goal that they scored, what turned out to be the only Ranger goal of the evening. And this was just a brilliant play by Alexis Lafreniere, making this whole thing happen here. So basically, the Rangers, the puck is in their zone. Igor plays it along the boards, and this goes back to what I was talking about before. Just simple plays, getting the puck out of your zone, clearing it very efficiently. The Rangers just worked it up the boards there, eventually got it into the neutral zone. Now, Tony DeAngelo is on the Rangers side of the red line. He goes back to get the puck, and he picks it up with his back toward the Ranger net, and again, right around the red line with his momentum taking him back across the red line to the Hurricanes' half of the rink. And at this point, Alexis Lafreniere absolutely baited this guy. He absolutely anticipated the pass that DeAngelo was going to make and took full advantage of it. So DeAngelo, like we said, he's just picked up the puck. He's got his momentum taking him away from the Ranger net. Lafreniere was there, and apparently he knew exactly what Tony DeAngelo was going to do with this puck, probably before Tony DeAngelo knew what he was going to do with this puck, because Lafreniere at first, was kind of giving DeAngelo the pass back to DeAngelo's defense partner, and just like that, as soon as DeAngelo went to make the pass, Lafreniere closed on it, intercepted the puck clean, and then started up the ice into the Carolina zone. And at that point, the chase is on. DeAngelo's trying to catch him from behind, and you've got Kakko and Chytil also jumping into the rush here. Lafreniere is one-on-one with the other Carolina defenseman, and Lafreniere brings it in up the left side and eventually makes a cross-ice pass for Filip Chytil, and Chytil puts his puck into the net before Raanta can move quick enough to his left to close off the near post. So just an excellent play by Alexis Lafreniere, anticipating what DeAngelo was going to do with the puck, intercepting the pass clean, and then making a perfect pass to Filip Chytil, who took care of the rest once again, finishing from the doorstep there and giving the Rangers a 1-0 lead. And that was just setting the stage for what was going to be a great night for the kid line. It wasn't too long after this where they had a really nice shift where they nearly made the score 2-0. You had the Rangers taking a face-off in their own zone, and it looked like the Canes won it, but Filip Chytil got to the loose puck very quickly and led the rush the opposite way. You've got Chytil passing to Kakko on the right side. Kakko moves across the slot area, to his left, and it looks like he's going to shoot, and maybe he even should have shot in this situation. He was in pretty prime real estate there, but instead, he made a backdoor pass back the other way to Filip Chytil, who's at the side of the net, and Chytil's going to score here. It looks like he's going to get his second goal, give the Rangers a 2-0 lead. A phenomenal left skate save by Antti Raanta, moving hard to his left. This was the best save of the night to this point by either goalie, and maybe ended up being the best save of the night. I mean, Igor Shesterkin made some nice saves, so he might have something to say about that, but a fantastic save here. And again, it could fall under the category of one pass too many, but I can't really fault Kakko because he made a perfect pass. The net was wide open for Filip Chytil, and the only thing stopping this puck from going in was once again an absolutely phenomenal save. The Rangers on this shift did everything but score. And again, just a fantastic night by the kid line. This shift started in the Rangers zone, and as soon as the puck is dropped, Filip Chytil is right on top of it and leading a charge into the Carolina zone. And again, fantastic scoring opportunity here. Just a better save by Antti Raanta. We're also going to highlight a spectacular play by K'Andre Miller in this game, as well as talk a little bit about the fourth line and specifically Tyler Motte, who has really made a positive impact on this Ranger team since his return to the lineup in Game 6 against the Penguins. We will get to all that and more in just a second. But first, just want to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by BetOnline.net. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. All right, I want to go ahead and talk about the Ranger fourth line a little bit. We're going to start with a play that happened near the end of the first period, right at the end of the first period. In fact, Rangers had a chance once again. This was a theme here. Another chance to extend their lead. They were not able to do it. But you had Tyler Motte driving hard to the Carolina net. He passed to his left to Ryan Reeves. Reeves takes a shot. The save is made. Reeves gets another chance that was also stopped by the left pad of Antti Raanta. This fourth line is just so much better, so much more dynamic, seems to play with just a better pace when Tyler Motte is on it. And that's nothing against Dryden Hunt. I realize that, obviously, he kind of overachieved this year, but this just feels like such a better group with Tyler Motte as a part of it rather than Dryden Hunt. Playing in the offensive zone for a good amount of the game, creating a little bit of offense, playing physical. These three players, Rooney, Reeves, and Motte, combined for 9 hits on the ice, despite not getting a ton of ice time. And with Tyler Motte, this guy's a buzzsaw. He had a play late in the second period as well, where once again the Rangers nearly made it a 2-0 lead. He was just fresh off the bench, and you had Mika Zibanejad making a centering pass to Motte. Motte received the pass right on the doorstep, tipped it just wide of the net. And I'm telling you right now, Tyler Motte, before it's all said and done for the Rangers in the playoffs this year, he's going to have a big moment. I don't know if that's going to be, scoring a goal, dishing out a key assist, doing something crazy, maybe the Canes end up with like a 5-on-3 power play, and Tyler Motte ends up blocking a few shots and clearing the puck out of harm's way, and preserves a Ranger 1-goal lead. He's gonna do something really, really big at a certain point. He's gonna have a moment for the New York Rangers. They didn't really get him for points or anything like that, and of course he only played in a handful of games in the regular season for the Rangers before he was taken out with an injury against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the final regular season matchup against them. But the Rangers didn't really get him for his points. That's the long and short of it. But I do think at some point, again, he's going to do something big. I can just kind of feel it. It's on the way for Tyler Motte. He had a couple chances in this game. I think sooner or later, he's going to have his moment in this New York Ranger playoff run. But either way, strong night for the Ranger fourth line. Tyler Motte also very, very valuable on the penalty kill. Of course, that didn't really come into the equation because there were only 2 penalties called in this game. They were both just a couple of minutes into the game, and they overlapped. You had Niederreiter taking an offensive zone high-sticking penalty against Adam Fox, and then just 27 seconds later, Ryan Strome taking an offensive zone penalty, tripping Jacob Slavin. So we didn't really get to see Motte do his thing on the penalty kill, which is obviously a good problem to have because it means the Rangers stayed out of the box. But again, just an invaluable player for this team, and somebody that I could not be happier that he's back in the fold. We weren't sure that he was going to come back. He got hurt near the end of the regular season, and I don't think a whole lot of people thought that he'd be back in the series against Pittsburgh. Came back in Game 6 and has already proved to be a valuable player once again to this Ranger team. Something else that I thought was interesting, Ryan Lindgren had to leave this game for a small amount of time near the end of the first period, and the Rangers, again, for a short amount of time, were forced to go with 5 defensemen. What I thought was interesting about this, though, when Lindgren was out of the game, they actually put K'Andre Miller and Adam Fox together, and they put Jacob Trouba with Justin Braun. And when the Rangers were without Ryan Lindgren for a few games in the Pittsburgh series, and even when he had to come out of, I think it was Game 5 for a short amount of time, the Rangers would end up leaving Miller and Trouba together and putting Justin Braun with Adam Fox, which at first glance I think is the way to go. But Adam Fox at times in that series just wasn't himself. And I think, at a certain point, the temptation to put Adam Fox with K'Andre Miller, especially when Ryan Lindgren is not in the picture, probably just too great for Gerard Gallant to ignore. And, obviously, I just thought that was kind of an interesting solution to the issue when Ryan Lindgren was not available for a small part of this game. Lindgren's a warrior. He was absolutely an unsung hero. First of all, of just the entire New York Rangers season, but more specifically, that series against Pittsburgh. He made a noticeable difference getting back into the lineup in Game 5 and helping the Rangers tighten things up a little bit and ultimately win the series. But yeah, Lindgren last night, despite missing a little bit of time here, ends up with 18 minutes and 24 seconds of ice time. That was fourth among New York Ranger defensemen. And speaking of Ranger defensemen, I have to talk about this play that K'Andre Miller made in the second period. This was just awesome to watch. You've got Rangers leading 1-0 at this point, obviously. I mean, they led 1-0 for almost this entire game. But you got Seth Jarvis moving in up the right side, and he's kind of behind the defense a little bit. Miller's, taking an angle, trying to step between him and Igor Shesterkin. And, I thought that's what he was going to do, just kind of try to block his path to the net. Instead, he skates over to Jarvis and just destroys him, just lays him out with a big hit, knocks him down to the ice. That's one way of breaking up a scoring opportunity, and what a play by K'Andre Miller. And, we keep saying on here, and a lot of analysts around, the league, they keep saying that, K'Andre Miller, man, this guy is going to be special. This guy is going to be a star. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. He could be an all-star. I think we're already there. K'Andre Miller, present tense, is a star in this league. I mean, this guy, again, look at the way he played against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I thought definitely the Rangers' best defenseman in that entire series, and basically picking up right where he left off in this game as well, going over and just completely single-handedly short-circuiting a scoring opportunity for Jarvis by just knocking him straight down to the ice. So that was awesome. K'Andre Miller, ever since he came into the league last year and was a surprise addition to the Rangers opening night roster, he's always had a certain amount of confidence about him. But I think now there's almost like an attitude that comes with it where this guy, I'm good. I know I'm good. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to be a big part of why the Rangers are going to win this game tonight. And we've seen him play more physical as I was about to say the seasons have progressed. It's only 2 seasons, but ever since K'Andre Miller came into the league, we've seen him establish himself as, a more physical player, and maybe some of that is hanging out with Jacob Trouba quite a bit because, Trouba's an old school player himself, plays with a lot of snarl, and those two have been partners pretty much ever since Miller came into the league. I mean, maybe there's times where they haven't been together, but pretty much this entire season, those two have been connected at the hips, and rightfully so. They make a heck of a duo, and again, just a fantastic play by K'Andre Miller here. And as far as him, man, he's going to become a superstar. He might already be there. He really might. We might have to start, like I said, talking about that in the present tense. And as you guys know, I'm big on the face-off stat, so this is something that I wanted to call some attention to. The 4 regular season matchups between these two teams, the Canes won 57% of the draws against the Rangers. They are an excellent face-off team, and in this game last night, the Canes won 59%. So this is an area where I just can't see the Rangers winning this battle. I mean, I know they're going to do everything that they can. They've got some guys that can win some faceoffs. Mika Zibanejad, that's an area of his game where he has really worked to improve. Unfortunately, he only won 35% of his draws in this game last night. But again, I just don't see a way that the Rangers win that battle. So that's going to be an area where they're just going to have to overcome losing the faceoff competition, and hopefully it's a situation where they don't get absolutely killed in that department every single night, and maybe they win the clutch faceoffs, the ones you really have to have. 1-goal game in the third period with the faceoff coming in either zone, those are the ones that you really want. So hopefully the Rangers, they might not win the majority of the faceoffs, but hopefully they can find a way to at least win a good chunk of the ones that really count. The Rangers in the third period again had a chance to increase their lead to 2-0, and we already talked about the one where Kaapo Kakko missed the empty net. He had a chance here as well. You have Lafreniere basically just exploding up the right side, makes a centering pass for Kaapo Kakko. Kakko, it looked like, got pulled down, and the Ranger bench was incensed. They really thought that there should have been a call here. The referee was catching an earful. I got to be honest, though, guys, when I watched the replay of this, it looked like Kakko just kind of lost his footing, stumbled a little bit. I'm sure it looked bad to the Ranger bench, but I got to say, this was actually a good no call on the part of the officials here. Kakko just kind of lost his balance a little bit while going hard to the net. Then there was a situation, this goes back to what I was talking about, where puck luck was on the Rangers' side, and I just thought that, it was the Rangers' night and they were going to be able to hold them off. There were a couple of instances here where the Canes got some chances in deep. Niederreiter got a breakaway. He got behind Braden Schneider and was in all alone. The puck glanced off of Igor's arm after Niederreiter took the shot, and it rings off the crossbar. This happened with about 7:30 left in the game. Fast forward about 4 or 5 minutes, and you've got another situation where the Canes get behind the defense. This time it's Sebastian Aho, and he puts his shot off of the post. And it wasn't too long after this. In fact, I believe it was the same exact shift where Aho did indeed tie the game, once again getting behind the Ranger defense. So they played excellent defense for probably about 45 to 50 minutes in this game, and unfortunately the Canes kind of got their game going and created some scoring opportunities down the stretch and eventually cashed in here when Sebastian Aho once again got behind the defense. Igor with a fantastic save, but Aho puts his own rebound into the twine. And then you, of course, have the overtime period. And again, this didn't last very long, but even in the overtime, and even though the Rangers had given up a late goal in regulation, I still thought like this was going to be their night. You had a good opening shift in the overtime period by the Mika line, some sustained offensive zone time, and then the Panarin line ended up jumping onto the ice. They kept it going. Once again, a lot of time in the Carolina zone. You had a good defensive play by Ryan Lindgren against Nietzsche's. But then completely out of nowhere, once again, Ian Cole, just the puck comes to him, he throws it at the net, and off of Lindgren's stick into the net, and 3:12 into the overtime period, Carolina wins the game 2-1. So again, it feels very much like a missed opportunity. That's the phrase that I keep coming back to, but I don't think it's panic time. I thought the Rangers did a lot of really, really good things in this game. They skated better than the Canes for pretty much the entire night. Good defensive hockey. Igor looked sharp. Igor looked like the guy that is certainly going to win the Vezina trophy this year, if not the Hart trophy, and just a good effort overall. I think the top six has a little bit more to give. You know, they played well defensively, sure, but I would like to see a little bit more offense, a little more scoring opportunities coming from the top six. If the kid line can continue to play the way that they played in this game and the usual suspects start producing some offense, then I think the Rangers have a very, very good chance of winning this series. But forget about the series. You got to bounce back with a strong effort in Game 2. I think the Rangers will do that. Once again, this is a resilient bunch and a team that seems to always play its best when they're coming off of a disappointing loss, and this Game 1 loss certainly qualifies, especially when you consider that the Rangers had the better of play for the majority of the evening. But that will pretty much do it for today, guys. We are about to have our 600th episode, which is most likely going to come in the form of a crossover episode with Mr. Jared Ellis from Locked On Carolina Hurricanes. It's always a good time talking hockey with Jared, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. And definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, at @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is at @LO_NY_Rangers. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Thanks for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. From second-round matchups to each Stanley Cup kiss, Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts.